Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Virtues Rage with Jargo, right here on theBigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue, the moderator of the No DQ Review, and that is Jargo, a panel member of the No DQ Review, and he will be on this week. What's up, Jargo?
What's going on, man? How's your week in wrestling?
Dude, you know, I've kind of slacked off on Twitter the past few days. I mean, I got a puppy. I got Metroid Prime, or not Prime, but Dread for the Nintendo Switch. And all I see in the wrestling bubble lately, I don't know, it's probably been going on for a while, but like the last 2 weeks, Tony Khan, dude. Like, I get it. I get it, Jargo. He's the owner of AEW. Now, let's be honest. I don't know exactly what he's done with his dad's business to make money. I'm not saying he hasn't. I just don't know. I know his father is the billionaire for sure. I know his father is I mean, he has sports teams as a hobby. That's the type of billionaire Shad Khan is. I know he has his hands full right now with Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he just lets Tony do his thing with All Elite Wrestling. Now, if I remember correctly, you know, Heyman and ECW back then, they were bold. They'd say anything about any company. That was the underground thing. And then, of course, Bischoff was straight up taking WWE talent, making the whole 83 weeks at Nitro beating Raw. NWO, it was a big deal. Bischoff bragged about it, and maybe to a fault. He spent Ted Turner's money. Tony Khan spending his dad's money. And again, maybe he made millions for his dad. I don't know all of that, so I'm just kind of generalizing that it's his dad's money. It's his dad's company's money. I see like similarities here and overlaps. Bischoff was cocky, got cocky on camera. There wasn't social media back then. Vince did it in a different way. He did it against Austin. Like, you know what I mean? It was part of the show to build that blue collar worker versus the boss type thing.
Well, let's not forget the billionaire Ted skits. It's not like it's beneath Vince to take a shot or two.
You're right, and WWE did take shots big time. The whole DX thing, the army, the tank, but they were number 2, and so is Tony Khan doing the same thing? Because, you know, WWE doesn't really acknowledge it. I mean, people say the 30-minute overlap that the Super SmackDown's going to have, and there's these little things that they're spies giving leaks for Rampage. Who knows if WWE's doing stuff like that. But what I do know is back in the Attitude Era, WWE in second place took shots, but Bischoff in first place took shots back. Right. Today, WWE's just kind of doing their thing, and then here you got Tony Khan. And here's the thing. I liked it back in the day. I liked the sparring, the taking the shots. But I don't feel that AEW is established enough yet in terms of their own identity and being like super successful on their own to do this. Like maybe down the road, if he focused more on building it. Why am I so pissed off about Tony Khan? I just feel like maybe it's too early for Dick Tony Khan to be public. Like if it's the character, like do you think this is a character or is this him? Eccentric.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
You're
your turn here. I gotta take a break, or I'm just gonna start blabbling because he's working me, dude.
Well,
he's working me.
I think Tony Khan's a little bit pissed off, Virtue. I think that's what's going on. All right, like everything that you're saying is 100% completely accurate, right? Like I don't fault you for your opinion whatsoever. But what I'm seeing is Vince taking very subtle shots at AEW, and it pissed Tony Khan off. And now Tony Khan is responding in a public forum, and he is doing it to rile up his base.
What's our subtle shots? Just give me one. What am I?
Okay, so we know that, SmackDown is getting bumped over to FS1, right?
Yep.
And so they're going to run this extra half hour of SmackDown. What did they put inside of that half hour of SmackDown? right? Look at what is booked inside of that half hour. You've got Brock Lesnar is going to appear, and you've got Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair booked inside of that half hour. Oh yeah, and we're gonna run it commercial free, right? Like they're loading this thing up purposely opposite of Rampage. This is a shot by WWE at AEW. There's no other way that I can view it, right? So if WWE is taking a shot at AEW, how does Tony Khan have to respond to this? He responds to it in a public forum to try to rile up his fan base. If you were going to DVR Rampage this Friday night, now you're not. You're tuning in live to help stick it to Vince McMahon because SmackDown is going to be on FS1. And there is a real chance that AEW can beat WWE. I don't think they're going to get them in total viewership, but inside of some key demographics, which we all know how much AEW loves to tout the demographics, whether right or wrong, they are going to try to beat SmackDown this Friday head to head.
And so if they beat him in one, just say they beat him in one. If they beat him,
they could beat him in old women aged 54 to 69. If they beat him in one single demographic, this is a win for AEW, and it's a big win because WWE is stacking the deck against AEW, knowing full damn well that this is their time to take a shot. They just did it subtly behind the scenes, and Tony Khan was like, oh, hell no. You want to be like that? We're going to run a buy-in on YouTube, because even if we can pull 20,000 viewers from SmackDown, that's going to hurt that demo. Like, he is playing freaking he's like, okay, Vince, you want to play chess? Let's freaking play chess, bro. That's where Tony Khan is at right now.
But I laugh at him. Like, I get you.
Hey man, I didn't say I agreed with it. Okay. I'm just explaining it.
The buy-in part, when I read that on No DQ and then I saw it was YouTube. All right, if people are watching SmackDown and want to see this buy-in on YouTube, they're going to have SmackDown on the TV still. They're, because this is before Rampage comes on. And then they'll just put YouTube on their phone or their tablet. I don't know.
See, I think they messed up. I really think they messed up by saying you're going to get Brock Lesnar, you're going to get Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and saying that this is all going to be in this half hour. What's going to be in that last like half hour of SmackDown, right? Like of like the regular broadcast of SmackDown. Whereas if I'm an AEW
they got Roman still, right?
But if I'm an AEW fan, I could absolutely, with smart TVs now, I'm just going to shut off SmackDown. And I want to watch Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki, right? Like inside of that AEW bubble, that's a freaking dream match. SmackDown can't beat that. Especially as you're just getting ready for freaking Blood Money. Like there's nothing that's going to be happening on SmackDown during that half hour that's that important, where Tony Khan has the luxury at this point of just throwing, let's do Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. It doesn't need a build because it's a dream match to our fans. It's not being marketed to anybody else. They just want AEW fans to turn off SmackDown and go to YouTube.
Is this a live Rampage Friday night?
Yes.
So like everything.
That's my understanding.
Okay, so everything.
Because of Dynamite being on Saturday this week.
Yeah, okay. Now, I'm seeing these struggling ticket sales, okay? Like WWE Raw had like barely 4,000 tickets sold in San Francisco. Now, we know what AEW's been doing. Now, we know WWE has had a pretty good year since fans have been back. I mean, in terms of the big events, right? They did 20,000 a night for what they had, for what they could do for WrestleMania. They did almost 50,000 at SummerSlam.
Well, and to be,
Cena came back, and some of those, the Madison Square Garden show drew.
We know they sold 3,400 tickets. The arena holds 14,000, but this was in California, right? I don't know what the restrictions are, how many tickets they even had available to sell.
That's a good point. Well, but so what I'm saying is, if AEW did the vigorous WWE touring schedule, at some point, they're going to struggle to sell tickets, and they already kind of are down in Miami. They're not selling at the AEW clip up Chicago, New York that they were at their show they're trying to sell in Miami. What if the AEW did the volume of touring that WWE did? Those diehard fans can only travel and spend so much money. At what point is it just hard to draw, especially in today's climate?
Well,
WWE has its bad moments that contributes to the lack of interest. I get it, but they have that name. So could AEW sustain? Is what I'm saying.
Well, I guess the smarter. Let me flip it around.
Okay.
If WWE restricted their travel schedule to what AEW is doing, don't you think that they would sell more tickets? Like it's an oversaturation of WWE. Like here in the Cedar Rapids area, WWE comes through twice a year. Oh, well, I didn't catch them this time. I'll see them in December. You know what I mean? Like it's just because their schedule is so heavy and they hit these towns so often, there's way more supply than demand when it comes to WWE programming at this point.
So here's what I want to see. Kind of opposite from each company. And I know WWE will never do this. So let's start with them. I would love to see, and I'm going to say Raw. Raw is the thing that needs a feel to change. SmackDown's their big show. They got Roman, all right, Charlotte. Do the basketball arena still. Why can't they do Raw in the smaller venues again that only hold 5,000 max? The ballrooms, and make the Raw just feel old school again and probably fill those a little bit better. I mean, is it greed? Everything have to be a big production? But I would love to see Raw go back to that more intimate setting. And then I would like to see AEW because they have access to a football stadium. And I know it's probably too early, but when do they attempt to do a stadium show?
I think that comes sooner than later, I think.
Okay. At Jacksonville, obviously. I mean,
I'm not sure if it's Jacksonville or if they do a big show in the UK. Because there's a lot of connections with the Khan family inside of the UK. Yeah. AEW is pretty big over there. I could see them trying to do that. But again, that's COVID kind of how ridiculous are we going to be with COVID restrictions, right? Yeah. As far as WWE goes, I think it would be smart. I would rather sell out 5,000 seat arenas and create a demand than, sell 7,500 tickets at an arena that holds 13,000 people. There's just no demand for WWE programming at this point. AEW is still hot.
Early Attitude Era, they weren't quite doing the big arenas all the time. And when DX was getting hot, they were in like these small balcony, and it just looked cool. But there were people going nuts all over the building.
Yeah, because I remember getting tickets for Monday Night Raw. And you would have to show up at the time the tickets went on sale and hope that you could still get a ticket even while you were standing in line. Now it's basically you can just walk up and buy a ticket if you've got Raw going on in your city. There's no demand for WWE product at this point. There's way more supply than there is demand, and the oversaturation of TV certainly doesn't help.
See, before the pandemic, they've already scaled house shows down to those smaller, like it would come to, like, instead of Cleveland, it'd come to like Akron or Canton, and it would be like a little 3,000 or 4,000 seat place. Like they've already, because they weren't, doing the big house show numbers like they used to.
Well, in house shows, when you look at the WWE business model in the grand scheme of things, they weren't making any money off of house shows. You make your money off of the TV revenue.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, I feel like we've raged the whole show. For me, I'll put you on the spot. If you don't have anything, that's good. Anything, little thing that's coming up? I know you got the G1 Climax. Has anything happened over there that's pissed you off?
Well, it doesn't necessarily piss me off. Okay. Can you be happy about something and pissed off about it at the same time?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay, so this morning, right, we're going through the G1 Climax. Jeff Cobb, at this point, inside of the G1 Climax, you got to wrestle like 9 matches, right? He's 8-0. He's got 1 match left. Kazuchika Okada coming into this morning was 7-0, matching Jeff Cobb stride for stride. Guess what? They happened to wrestle on the last night. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. But So this morning, the main event, Kazuchika Okada versus Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga pins the Rainmaker clean in the middle of the ring. And like,
good, I see your point there.
I'm really happy for Tama Tonga. Like, this is a huge spot for him, probably the biggest win of his career, the first time he's main evented a singles match of a New Japan show, and he pins the guy, right? Which is great spot for him. But now going into this final night, and it doesn't change anything because they face each other, right? Because off the tiebreaker, if Okada wins, they finish with the same record. Okada has the tiebreaker. He still wins the block. But why in the living hell do you have Tama Tonga pin Kazuchika Okada? Like, on what plane of existence?
Do they have plans for him? I mean, he's in that Samoan family, right? Or that Islander family?
Yeah, he's
Island family, yeah. Do they got plans for the guy? I mean how do you start a push?
They've tried with Tama before, and it's just never taken off. But, I mean...
Is he the guy that had the beef with Enzo and Cass in Ring of Honor?
Yep.
I don't know if it was a work or shoot, but that
was a shoot. That was a shoot. Okay. But as far as the Gorillas were concerned, that was a shoot. Nobody clued in the New Japan side of the locker room to what in the hell was going on with Ring of Honor trying to run an angle. So as far as the Gorillas were concerned, that was a shoot. I mean, but to me, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, the Gorillas of Destiny, one of the greatest New Japan tag teams of all time. I see them keeping them inside of that tag team role. So it was so surprising to see Tama I would think Yano would stand more of a chance against Okada because, Yano can roll a MFer up, right? Yeah. Like, that's what he does. I was floored. Like, good for Tama, but I was floored. Like, what the? Really?
Well, like you said, you could be happy and pissed, and maybe that's a good feeling in wrestling. Maybe we need more. Maybe if Roman does lose to Brock Lesnar, I'm the big Roman supporter, maybe I can find some type of mad but happy out of this whole thing. If it does happen like Vito wants it to.
I mean, this would be like the equivalent of Dolph Ziggler winning the King of the Ring. Like, really? Dolph Ziggler? Everybody on the roster. That's the guy that you're going to go.
Well, Dolph Ziggler the last 5 years, like 10 or 12 years ago when you still thought maybe he could have been something.
Yeah, but now, I mean, it's like, it doesn't even mean anything to pin Dolph Ziggler because everybody's pinned Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, that's true. Goldberg got a squash match against Dolph Ziggler. That's it, man. I mean, we got to roll over to the No DQ review soon. So any last words or your plugs, and I will close this show.
At NotJargo, MichaelJargo.com, at MarkMedia.com.
And it's always a pleasure doing Virtue's Rage with Jargo. You can follow me on Twitter if you dare at NoDQ_Virtue. But this has been Virtue's Rage on thebigvitobrand.com. And I also think it's on patreon.com/BigVMafia. Catch Jargo and I over on No DQ this week on the review. And we're going to be live, but this will be posted after the fact. So go catch it on demand over on NoDQ.com. So for Jargo, I am Virtue. Thanks for watching and listening. We will see you next time.